the angels first started talking about the Earth Rift, which is a large, it is a really, really big Earth event. And they started talking about it back in 2020. And they only recently gave us a potential time window for this event. They said it would be within the yearly anniversary. We could look at an event like that and there could be a lot of fear.
What is the role of the heart as well in this process of receiving more light and entering a new state of being?
The heart is the portal to all light energy of perception, of illumination, of all that fills the universe. Your entry point to be in dialogue with who you are, with the fullness of your own presence.
And Tucker, welcome back on Just Tap In. You know, last time I asked you what you were most excited about, and you said that there was a lot of activation happening on the planet. And it's been a few months since we last talked. I wanted to ask you what activations are emerging in humanity that you're sensing and feeling in yourself that are casting out a ripple into this new earth that is emerging through all of us.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. That is so, it's really been interesting. I feel like that is more appropriate now than ever. That was interesting. So, you know, I do a message with the angels every week, and 2 weeks ago, they brought through that they asked us to expand the glimmers, they called it. And the glimmers of the new energy is here, that we have reached the tipping point. And they said that we are further along than we thought we would be at this point, that we've reached the tipping point and now energy is coming in. But we are the ones, as you know, creating the new reality. It's emanating from inside of us. And it is one of the ways that we can get there more smoothly, get there faster, all the things, is by looking for those moments where we achieve stillness and where we're able to see the glimmers of what is new coming up from inside of us. And it comes up in the moments where we are at the conclusion of one energy, where we allow ourselves the space to sit in the nothing and before we begin something else. And it's like, we don't take a lot of those moments during the day. It could be the moment where you space out when you're on a walk and you're not thinking about anything, where you're just in the space of stillness internally. And in those moments, the glimmers come up. And so when we see those, the idea is to try to be present, to notice them, to invest, to be the witness, to invest our energy, our presence in those moments. And by doing that, we expand them. So this is, to me, one of the more exciting things that I see happening. And I notice it in myself. I'm seeing it in people around me. I'm witnessing other people's journeys in really amazing ways, where I'm seeing people have beautiful self-realizations right now, really coming to like deep awarenesses about themselves. And it's really, really amazing to see the wisdom that's coming up in people. And I feel that is that higher octave of ourself starting to come to the surface.
Wow. Would you be open to sharing any of those moments where the glimmers have appeared in your reality, just to get a sense of what that actually might feel like and look like, and how we can identify that's a glimmer? That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. Some of them are profound. Some are serendipitous. Some are those moments, like what I'm finding right now is that when I'm in the space of stillness, when I'm asking a question internally, it will be answered. And it'll be answered almost. So even, like a simple one, yesterday I had or Sunday, I had a crew of guys here at my place that were helping me with some gardening projects. And I was going to buy them pizza. And I thought, well, what pizza should I order? And immediately comes in Hawaiian. They want Hawaiian pizza. And I just knew it. And I double checked. I asked them, but it was, in fact, and it was the little things. But it was because I was in the moment where I was peaceful. I was just going about my business. I was in the space of stillness, that it just floats in. And I find there's this sense of when I'm in that space, when the glimmers appear, it is when I'm in the space of flow and ease. And I'm in and out of it during the day, right? I notice more profoundly when I'm not in that space. That when I'm ever in a space where I start to feel like, where my breath rises up in my chest, when I'm not fully integrated in my breath, I notice that I recognize it's like once you feel the love, you notice it's absent all the more profoundly. So I noticed it when I'm not there. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What am I doing? How do I get back into that space of stillness? But it'll be those moments of, even the coincidences that we always look for, the moment when, the one time you check the clock and it's 4:44 or whatever it is. Those are the things. Take a moment, take a breath and say, okay, the way the angels described it, allow it to have meaning. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Allow it. Don't question it. Say, okay, I'm going to ascribe meaning to this. I'm going to say that was a message to me. Absolutely. And allow it. And when we do, we give it our presence and we expand it. So it can be anything that rises up, like I said, in the moments of presence. It can be moments of where you come to awareness about yourself or about something, a circumstance, a new perspective, a higher perspective on something, a problem you've been trying to solve. Another example is same thing. I'm walking in stillness. I've been trying to solve a problem. All of a sudden the answer just like a visual floats in of you could do it this way. And it's that glimmer of like me all of a sudden connecting with my higher perspective, seeing it in a new way that I hadn't thought of before. And so, but it can be the serendipitous, it can be getting the parking spot that you wanted. It can be practical things, but it can also be any time that we feel we are connected into that higher perspective, that higher aspect of who we are. And in those moments, it's don't let it go by. Don't just dismiss it like we have a tendency to do and just say, oh, it was just coincidence or, oh, no, give it meaning. Say that right there was a glimmer of the new earth. And I'm going to lean in and create more of that.
Mm. And when I think of the word glimmer, it's almost like a particle of light or of shining light. You see a glimmer out in the distance. And there's this message that has been coming through very strongly from the angels recently. That is that the earth has to crack so that the light can get in.
Right.
So break that a little bit down for us in the sense of what they mean by the cracking of the earth and how this new light can penetrate it in new ways.
Yeah.
In our reality.
I'm so glad you that struck a chord for you as well. That was in the message that just came through last Friday. And I loved that part. And they were talking about some heavy things that are coming. They're talking about, as we know, the earth movements right now, the energy in the earth is just going up. Like there's a lot of activity in the earth and a lot of people are talking about it. The angels first started talking about the earth rift, which is a large, it is a really, really big earth event. And they started talking about it back in 2020. And they only recently gave us a potential time window for this event. They said it would be within the yearly anniversary. And there's some debate about did they mean this year or did they mean the next 12 months? But I think it's not important, the specific window. It's more the idea that they were trying to communicate. We could look at an event like that and there could be a lot of fear. And I think they are wanting us very much to recognize what this event is going to do. And it is that idea that and I think they said it in the message, that a world that's closed to itself, the light can't get in. And it is that idea that imagine, and they said for humans, the only way that we will not receive for the energy of the light, there's an amazing flash of light that's coming. That's going to help all of us raise our vibration. The only way we won't receive it is if we have our back to it. If we are turning around, reaching to the past, trying to hold on to what was, which is essentially being closed to the light. And so they're saying, well, the world, the earth herself, as a being, as a soul herself, has been inwardly focused. That she has been, for what they've been telling us, is that she has been dealing with a wound of loneliness, of being disconnected from the universe and believing that she's alone in the universe. And then she has emotions coming up about that, anger and grief and all kinds of things. Those have to come to the surface. And so the earth rift and these earth movements, all this energy, this is her trying to heal, trying to bring it to the surface. So, and the key reason why it needs to happen is because if she is still completely shut down like this, when the light comes, it can't get in. So she's got to crack open first so that the light can penetrate. And so we're expecting that there will be a significant, the way the angels described it, they said it will be a big enough event that we will hear it around the world. So to put it into scale or reference, Tonga was big enough. That happened, I'm not sure, a year or two ago, the big eruption in Tonga. They said that one you could hear halfway around the world. So that was a really big one. This would be all the way around the world. So, and my hope is that it will be able to happen with the least amount of disruption to life on Earth as possible, in terms of how do we address that and receive the amazing benefits of this to humanity and to the Earth, which is that it lets the light in for us, it lets the light in for the Earth. It moves us to a much higher octave in terms of our progression in our shift of consciousness. But then the idea is, I think, in terms of our meditations, our prayer, that the goal is to try to soften the impact of the release, to not prevent her from having her release. She needs that release the same way that we do. When we heal, we need to let the emotions come up to the surface. We've got to have the release, but we can soften the impact through our prayer and meditation.
Before today's transmission, I wanted to take a minute to let you in on something that could change your life. If you've been doing the inner work and still feel like you're walking this path alone, you're not the only one. Most spiritual spaces give you endless content to consume, but not a tribe to grow with. That's why we created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem designed to help you grow in community, rhythm, and real embodiment. Right now, our members are embarking on a journey exploring a core spiritual and practical teaching through daily activations, live community gatherings guided by me and our facilitators, and also participating in sacred challenges that are designed to help you live your practice and bring it to life. You'll be surrounded by seekers and leaders who've decided that they're done doing this work in isolation. If you're ready to find your people, visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now, and I'll see you inside. I did want to ask you for a moment about the yearly anniversary, because they did use a very interesting series of words. They said, within this exacting amplitude and periodic fluctuation within the yearly anniversary. And I know that you've said before that the angels are outside of linear time and they don't make timeline predictions. Why do you feel they had this sense of giving us a frame of a periodic fluctuation? What do you think the meaning was behind that?
What I felt, because when I'm channeling, I don't retain the words very well, but I receive visuals, impressions. I go back and read it when it's done, and then I get the message kind of the same way everybody else does, that I get it after it's been channeled. But the feeling that I got and the visual that I got about that was that a time period. So how do we understand reality? That reality is not solid, that it is not, like my mouse here is not actually physical. It is just a density of vibration that's in alignment with each other to create around the shape of this mouse. And that if I had the consciousness that was able to be flexible enough, I could be like what's his face from the Matrix, and I could just put my hand right through it. You know what I mean? Because it is just, it's not actually solid. Nothing is solid. That it is just a collection of matter. Reality is just a collection. And I'm sorry, I just did that to my screen. but anyways, so how is it that you and I as souls, and everyone who is part of your audience who's listening to this, how is it that we are all together in the same space, time, and reality? That it is almost like, if you can imagine that we have all agreed to participate in a vibration by putting our awareness into a specific conceptualization of reality. And it is a vibration, and vibration is, I think we have a tendency to come at it very scientifically, to measure it with waves and put numbers on it. It's emotion, it's thought pattern, right? That is how our bodies speak the language of vibration. Our body is the instrument. We don't have to be, you don't have to be, a whiz at algebra or whatever to be able to understand this. It is literally, our bodies are the instrument, and we speak the language of vibration through our emotions and through our thought patterns. But we have all come together in an alignment of vibration to this particular degree, I guess I'll call it, of reality, which is fixated in space and time. So imagine it's like a bunch of us all projecting and coming together to this one focal point. But we as a being are not static. We are a wave. Like we, even in our body is, we think of our body being like a pitcher and we pour our soul into it and then it just holds it there like a pitcher of water. And it's not like that. It's much more like a constant beam of energy, a constant wave that is fixated in the time and place vibration because of this alignment with the reality that we are a part of, and this is a conscious participation. So how do they say, like, how do you then say within that framework, what is a moment? What is a year? That time period is going to have its own unique vibration. And so for the angels, they don't read time. They don't understand time. They can't dissect it and say Tuesday. They do once in a blue moon. They have given me windows of time for things based on lunar cycles. That's the only way they've ever spoken about time to me before, is based on, they would say within the next lunar cycle. So, which I'm sure has a frequency because it's based on what is the moon doing at that time. They would say this is a frequency they can identify. Yeah. So this is apparently within this period has a frequency that you can identify, that they could say, okay, it's going to happen while the energy is doing this. Interesting, right?
Very interesting. And it's a beautiful metaphysical way of explaining how we create physical reality as well through our awareness and consciousness. And another metaphysical aspect is, you were mentioning our thought patterns. And I've heard you say before that our thoughts are helping the earth to process her own understanding of herself. Yeah. Like we are the neurons of earth in a way. So if earth is going to be having these emotional releases and that we'll experience them as eruptions, earth rifts, quakes, whatever it is, how can our thoughts help earth and guide earth to process that understanding of herself?
Oh, such a good question. That is such a good question. I would say by being aware of judgment. And so fear is a judgment, right? If we're reacting to her healing process. So think about if you had a young child who needed to process emotion. Our reaction to our emotion is often fear. And it could be our reaction to our emotion or another person's emotion. How do you feel if you're in a public space and you see someone just emotionally lose it? What is your response? How does it feel when you witness someone experiencing deep grief? Or if you have a friend who's going through deep grief, do you feel like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to say? How do I handle it? Like, what is the experience that you're having in your own body? It is not an easy thing for humans to cope with in the modern day, that we have fear of our feelings and fear of other people's feelings. When in fact, if you think about a child who doesn't, like, maybe they're having a big emotion and they don't know how to process it, and it's coming out as a tantrum because they don't know what to do with the feeling. And we have a choice how we're going to interact with that child. And if we really put ourselves in their position and understand they're not being bad, they're not doing it to punish us or to be naughty, right? They literally do not have the coping mechanisms yet to understand what to do or even how to interpret what's happening to their body, right? What's happening in terms of their energetic system. So if we can be the witness to their emotion, if we can help them to put that emotion into a framework that they can understand it better, right? If we can help them to take that emotion and help them process it by saying, well, what does this emotion feel like to you? How is it rising up in your body? What in your body hurts right now? What happened in your environment that made you feel this way? So starting to kind of dialogue with them to help them to kind of begin to understand what's happening. We could do the same thing for the earth. Right. For the earth if we think of ourselves, our role as light workers in this process is to witness. And that's the angels tell us this all the time, that we are meant to like, don't turn it out. Don't close your eyes when the earth is going through her process. We are meant to be the witness, to take our moment to grieve. There will be loss, and we're meant to grieve the loss and then take our moment of stillness, allowing old structures, old constraints to slough off. And then we are meant to immediately turn to look to see the phoenix rising from the ashes. And this will be the new reality rising up from that. But I think the key to recognize our role is there is so much power in if we witness what's going on for the earth, that will soften what happens. Like, it's just like anybody. If I remember way back in my early corporate days, my first job, my first job, I was working at Microsoft, and my first job was I was in inside sales. I was on the phones, and we did not have nearly enough people on the phones. And so we would get people who would finally come to us, and they would have been waiting for 2 hours on the phone, and they would be so mad. And so they taught us conflict resolution. They put us through training to teach us how to deal with angry people. And what they told us, he said, if you acknowledge the person's feelings, it's like popping a balloon. So if people would come and they would be like ready to tear your head off, and you would just say, I understand you're very, very angry. And it would be like, yes, I'm very angry. I understand you've been waiting for a really long time. Yes, I've been waiting for a long time. I'm so sorry that, like it was just literally being the witness, allowing what's happening to be seen. And so I think with the earth, there's a lot of people that we all have different gifts. There are people who really are sensitive to the earth. They feel the earth. They're here for a purpose, right? To feel what is when you see a volcano going off, what is the emotion? What is the earth expressing in this moment? To hold presence, be witness for that. We are the thoughts, put it into an understanding, put it into a frame of reference into what the earth might be experiencing. So that kind of idea is to think of it as a sacred task, to be the witness for what's coming.
Mm. Yeah, and to go along that, I'll quote the angels as well. They said, to bear witness to the earth's division is partially why you are here.
Yes.
And
yeah,
it's beautiful. It's like to bear witness to the process of the earth instead of just focusing on what humanity is going through. Mm-hmm. Like we are one and the same with the being that we're inhabiting, as humans. And you mentioned that a lot of this emotional release will come because of this loneliness that the earth has felt. So I'm curious to know if we ourselves individually deal with the internal loneliness that we feel, can we mitigate these earth rifts that the earth might want to have because of the loneliness that she feels? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And so and that is a really interesting question. And I'm just kind of tuning in because they're saying it's a symbiotic relationship, that we're housing a similar grief, but ours is processed differently. They're saying that the earth herself, she has her own experiencing, which is in truth a dialogue of disconnection with all universal energetic constructs other than her own, is what they're saying. And so just to process that for a minute. So I get what I'm getting from that is that she has they're saying she's genuinely isolated. So that has to be resolved. Her genuine isolation has to be resolved. But that we are also experiencing loneliness, but it's different for us because we're saying we're not in our surroundings. Our surroundings, we're actually surrounded by people. So ours is different. So we're surrounded by people, but the way that we experience loneliness is by feeling like we don't belong. So hers is genuinely being cut off. It's like being in solitary confinement. And ours is feeling alone in a crowd, which is a very different vibration. But they're saying that these two have to be isolated and treated or experienced differently, is what I'm getting. So but like I do think that when we do our inner work, it does heal. But this is something that she as a soul, as her thoughts, and we just ask if there's anything, and I'm not deep in trance right now, so it's a little harder for me to but I'm just relating what's coming through. Is there anything in terms of our own, they're saying that our own healing, it helps humanity's journey, and that then in turn, does it affect her? And they're saying not on this issue. So not on this issue. Yeah, which is unusual. I would have expected it to be different. I would have thought, yes, absolutely. But no, they're saying that she has a genuine, and so the thing that they say that needs to happen, and I think they mentioned this in the last message, is that she has to try to reconnect. That this basically, it's like in reaching for her own consciousness and reaching for her own sense of unity, then she will discover connection again. And so it's a process she has to go through in terms of actually, it's almost like breaking out of an egg is a visual that I'm getting.
Yeah. She has to get on Galactic Tinder ASAP.
Exactly.
But I mean, that was a joke, but I asked the question because I'm also thinking to myself, like there's this vast universe and galaxy, and there's trillions and billions of other planets. So how could one planet feel cut off from the rest of the universe? What could have caused that to happen?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll just see if I get anything on it now. I might have to go deeper into trance to answer that one. And I think I do, because there's more conceptual stuff there that I would need to be a little deeper to be able to tap into. But it's a very interesting question. I don't know why that would be. I know that the visual that I got previously is that it's like she can only hear her own sounds. Like she's cut off. Her nervous system is underdeveloped. I just got that. Her nervous system is underdeveloped. They're saying yes. And that she can't, see, I'm not going to get all of it unless it's going to be a bigger concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
But interesting.
We can make the space right now if you feel comfortable going into that channeling, and then continue that previous conversation, since we're like segueing into this big topic that I wasn't expecting to talk about. But as you feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that if you like. Let me go. Let's just take a moment and we'll go in. You ready?
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. For sure.
So I'll go ahead and ground us. It helps me to go into trance. Let's drop down from our tailbone, a nice thick root that goes down through the floor and down into the ground. And follow it down with your mind as it grows and extends, growing deeper and deeper into the earth. Following it down where it's dark and cool, extending longer and longer. And follow it all the way down to the very, very center of the earth. And when it reaches that central point, feel the root sprout and anchor itself in. And as it does, notice that the root is pulling gently and becoming taut. And feel as that tautness moves all the way up the root. And then all the way up your spine. Anchoring you securely to the earth. I'd like to ask the angels to please help me to be a clear channel of healing and information for all of us participating today for our highest and best good. And please help us to receive this healing and information. Thank you. Blessings. We are within.
Thank you for being here.
We are blessed, blessed, blessed to be invited to be the witness and the participant.
Thank you. And as we were speaking with Anne about the loneliness that Earth is feeling, I'm wondering if we can have some clarity from your perspective as to the origins of that loneliness so that we can better understand it and witness the Earth through that process.
She has many avenues of self-exploration. There are many, many, many lava flows suffering from her own exhaustion of a topical concern. She moves among the many vibrations of her own internalization of what she is and how she became. She has no answers. She cannot listen yet to the sounds around herself. Her own voyage has come into presence just recently. She's only become self-aware within this last geometric time period, as you would say. She has come into her own self-referencing. It is a periodic discussion that she has been having. Who am I? in this reference point to now and later, to what was and what is beginning, who I am now and who I have been. This has created within her own thought process a sense of I amness. And within that sense of I amness becomes the question of who can I become? And in that frame of reference, she now discovers she is alone. And the loneliness then evolves from that certainty, from the pinpoint of self-awareness, when otherness is exposed, when the unified focus of self dissolves, and she comes into presence with identity. Here is the loss. Here is the suffering point. It is a necessary fracture that must occur for all species in dialogue with themselves. They must separate from the oneness to discover self, to experience wholeness once again, and to reunify into the all that is. It is a processing by which you yourselves are under expression. You are in the process of finishing the devolution away from unity into self, and now return through wholeness into unification again. Do you understand us?
I do. And when you mentioned that the earth herself has been gaining this self-awareness in the recent periodic time, how does that affect the self-awareness of the beings on earth, humanity, the animals, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom? How does that affect all of us?
All beingness shall travel through their own dialogue with self, differing journeys, depending upon their own causation for being, each chosen independently. The voyage of self for humanity is one of a dialogue between separation and unification. It is the expression and expressionality between self and otherness, and unity within self reflected as unification among all things and each other. This same dialogue is not present among all species and types of beings. For example, in many animal kingdoms, there shall be a unique experiencing of the illumination that is present, wherein the context of their existence shall shift focus away from carnality and into a greater expression of intellectualization. They shall become more cogent, more eruptive of thought and thought processes. This is part of their evolution. Do you understand us?
I do. And what is the voyage of self like for an angelic being, for example?
We say thank you for your inquiry. We are now and always the same in most ways of perceiving us. We are as we always have been. However, we are a reflection of all dialogues that are taking place, of all unified and non-unified substances in existence. We are the reflection of the unified presence of the one that is all things. We are the witness. We bear witness to all in existence. We are the essence that reflects the presence of the divine. We witness all beings. We are the essence in angelic presence. Therefore, we are as we always have been, and yet we reflect the constant change that is reflected within us. Do you understand us?
I do. You mentioned the devolution that humanity has gone through. At what moment does humanity make a choice to end the devolution and begin again the rise of evolution?
There is not in so many ways of perceiving any conclusion, termination, or new beginning. There's only the constant revolution of self through many instances of self-knowledge and self-knowing, self-understanding. There is the devolution of one form simultaneously as new energetic focal points evolve from what is discarded. There are many processes interacting all at once, all in one moment, all at one time, in every moment, in all time. Therefore, it would be difficult to pinpoint a singularity upon which the threshold is begun. It is, in fact, a continuation, a constant flow of evolution that you are experiencing, much like the breath as it evolves. It comes to the self and it expresses the self, and it feels as though the self has completed one revolution of breath. But the exhale lives on. The inhale is permeating within the body. The after effects ripple well beyond the execution of each breath. It is an effect that takes place. The exhalation of each breath moves beyond the self to inhabit the minds, the thoughts of others, and lives on as each next person that encounters your breath receives the energy contained within it. And it moves through their bodies and becomes a breath, a second, a next moment. It is an evolution. It is a constant taking place. Does this answer your question?
Yes, definitely. And when we talk about this year anniversary, what about it energetically do you tune into that is allowing certain events to occur that we're going to be witnessing and bearing witness to? Is there a certain theme that is arising that we can be privy to be able to handle that and prepare for that in the best way possible?
Yes. We say this time period of reflection, of the mortification of this earth, of her self-inflicted dialogue, which shall serve as the template for your own exhaustion of what ails you. This time period is one of combustion, of letting go, of release. It is one within which all things are permeated with self-exhaustion and expulsion. It is a time period of ejection, revolution, change. The spendthrift moments of revulsion, wherein one person shall release that which once filled a purpose and no longer serves, the digestion of that which once was held as too far off. It is a process by which you discard and receive simultaneously. It is an acceptance point and a revisitation. There is more charged particles, more charged energy. There's a fixation within the framework of this time period that will enable yourselves to digest more, to infiltrate the reality with a higher degree of causality than it normally receives. The fixated point of your concentration, of your willfulness to survive, to perceive, to elevate yourselves, to experience what is new. These elevation points anchor the light into higher dimensions than normally are experienced within this realm. There is an exhaustive aspect to this time period. It will release much friction from the field of your experience. This friction creates within its own self a sensation or feeling of exhaustion. It shall be as if a great tension point or spring has been sprung, and the release is felt as you are catapulted into the higher state of consciousness. The energetic waves and particle formations that are in relationship to this time period are highly charged, thus easy to perceive. Do you understand us?
Yes. And I'm wondering what you can say about the higher mind that is coming online for humanity.
Many things. We may say many things. what would you like to speak of?
In what ways does this higher mind differ from our current use of our mind, how we are currently using it in our reality?
Your higher perspective shall shine upon this earth with a frame of reference that is conceiving of itself as gifting the presence of the divine through each thought and vibration you emanate. Thus, your perception of reality shifts. You perceive what is light within the earth and fixate upon this and generate more light because of it. You are the fixator. You are the one that creates the new earth. You do this through the inner dialogue of change being acceptable, of change being wanted, change no longer being feared. You become reverent regarding the change that you enact within your world. You see yourselves as becoming the light in each moment as the light becomes where you are. And this shall move your thought patterns into new formations of experiencing your own light as art. Do you understand us?
Yeah, and it's very common to talk, when we talk about the mind, to also talk about the heart. And I'm wondering, what is the role of the heart as well in this process of receiving more light and entering a new state of being?
The heart is the portal to all light energy of perception, of illumination, of all that fills the universe. Your entry point to be in dialogue with who you are, with the fullness of your own presence. The heart expands through unification with the all that is, and through this dialogue with existence, your own portal back to self enlarges, and the self as you are becomes increasingly present in the now moment. The heart is everything. The heart is not second. It is first and always. The heart beats in a countenance that describes what you are, describes your soul light, the song of your own self. The heartbeat, the breath, the unification of these two are the resemblance of your spirit unified within the body. And this presence of what you are must then come into dialogue with all that is and all that you encounter. It is as if you play an instrument and the instrument joins the chorus, and the chorus is sung by all, and together you are creating a new sound, a new movement within a great song, a parade of light that will dance onward. Do you understand us?
100%. And when it comes to what we talked about with Anne before, of the earth changes and the eruptions and the purging that the earth has to go through herself, is there a way that we ourselves can experience that in a gentle unfolding rather than a chaotic or disastrous experience?
Yes, you may. Feel the light. Feel the presence of the divine in all things. Presence of light descends upon you now. Feel the infiltration of the light in your crown, in your brow. Notice we are light. We are there. We are presence. All things are illuminated. In this time now, particles are active. Light powers. The divine powers the shift, the change, the fracture, the earth, the divide. All things are empowered by the light. The light is where you are. You are the light. Embrace the light that you are. Be empowered to create within your own field of presence the sense of yourself as your divine nature. Allow yourselves to be not in fear, in delight. Seek out what is new. Seek out what is divine. Seek out the illuminative power that is coming where you are. You are capable of reaching to higher dimensions of thought, higher dimensions of perspective. The answers are near to where you are. Thoughts are fleeting. The powers of the mind are not capable of reaching to these higher perspectives now. But the heart might. Feel in your heart the glee, the joy that you will feel as you aspire to new states of being. Love is what carries your heart there. Love is the aspiratory tool that engages yourself to bring you into higher states of consciousness. Love the earth. Love her feelings. Love your own thoughts and your own feelings. Be empowered by this. It is the tool most accessible where you are. Do you understand us?
I do. And before we go back to our conversation with Anne, if there's anything else that you would like to say to humanity at this time, in this current unfolding that we're going through, anything that you would like to bring to light and illuminate even further?
We say you are more dynamically opened than ever before. The heart is empowered like a vehicle that is teleported into a new state of wonder, a new state of openness, a new state of acceptance of self. It is a vehicle that has endowed itself with a greater state of presence of dynamically charged particles that elevate the state of beingness. You can allow yourselves to experience higher and higher states of consciousness. Greater openings, greater portals to entry are available to you now. You may simply endow yourselves with the privilege of being allowed to be in presence with who you are now. Come to truth with your own presence. You may feel increasingly aligned within your own frequency. You may feel increasingly truthful about this alignment. You may feel yourselves to be in dynamic interplay with one another, more contextually than ever before, as if you are speaking each other's thoughts, as if you are knowing what one another feels. Allow this template to expand. Allow yourselves to come into dialogue and into reference in new ways. Understand this exploration is growing. Change is difficult for humans, which is, we find, amusing, because you are, in fact, the frequency of change. You are what you fear. You fear yourselves. You fear the dynamic interplay of self and all things. And it is this that you must fixate upon and allow to resolve into new form. Thus we say, play in the field of creation and allow what comes to be.
So much love. Thank you. Thank you for the contact and being here with us today.
We bless you. We say thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye. I love how you come back. You're like, where am I?
I know.
I'm recording a podcast right now.
It happened to me recently when I was at a retreat and I came back and I'd forgotten and I turned this way and there's all these people and I was like, oh my God.
Because you come back pretty like, it's like a landing. Like
it is. Yeah, it is. It is definitely, isn't it? And it takes me a minute to come back into like, oh, this is where I am. Yeah.
What was the last thing? Because I know you get shown a lot of images during the channeling. So what do you think was the last thing on your mind screen?
What did you remind me? What you asked them? What was the last question? It might help me to remember. It's hard for me to retain. What did you ask them?
Well, the last one really was about asking if there was any last message that they would want to share for humanity.
Yeah. So they were talking about, it was, if I start talking and maybe more will come back to me, they were showing people that they have access to way more now than they realize, that there's way more potential, that we have and that we fear it. They were showing me that we fear the potential. We fear this, that we have this ability to create, but it is really about coming into alignment with this, where things are, it's like, and they're showing me like gateways being opened, like gateways upon gateways being opened. And so it's really this idea that, the challenge, and I think they talk about this a lot, the challenge that we have is understanding what it is to be in allowing, to be allowing. Like I would say that being allowing, I think when we hear that word, that people can have a reaction to it because they think, well, there's a lot of things in this world that I don't want to allow. Like there's terrible things going on in the world. There's people starving. And I don't want to allow that, right? Allowing, does that mean that I think I have to fight, right? I have to fight to make it right. When in fact, if we are reacting to something, it means that what we are really doing is there's something inside of us that's being triggered by that. There's some piece of us that says, I wish that doesn't happen to me, or maybe it did happen to me and I wish it didn't. And I'm trying to deny that experience. I'm fighting the world because I'm actually fighting me. I'm fighting my experience, my life, my history. If we can come to terms with that and release it, we take the steam, the energy out of the system. So they were showing me this concept of in this next stage as the energy that we're working with right now. They were showing me there's way more energy here right now than we are seeing. And that was really the point of it and they're showing me that now, that it was like, but we're in these constructs right now where we're still stuck in loops that we can't see it yet. And some of it is our fear of change. And they were showing me that we have a fear of change, which they always think is hilarious. They're always telling me that we are the frequency of change and we fear ourselves, which I think is actually pretty funny. But because we walk into a room, our energy, we change the room and then we're like, oh no, it changed. But, but
they also hinted at this, this new way of dialoguing and communicating with others,
yes,
almost
right.
Where you're like interwoven in the thoughts and the feelings that you're having.
Yeah. So there was, and I remember them talking about that. I don't remember the words that they used, but they were, I mean, it was like, gosh, there's so much here. And it's really just trying to be, I think they would always encourage us to be patient with ourselves, to understand that it's really hard to see something we've never seen before. But that there is increasingly the potential that we will be finishing each other's, like finishing each other's sentences, or understanding, like reading your emotions or reading that kind of stuff, that will become increasingly possible. And they were showing me that we can have a reaction of fear about that it's almost like it feels foreign. It feels like something else. It feels unsafe. And so they're trying to say, become aware, like as this is part of what's changing, like we are becoming more permeable. And so that's part of the change. We're afraid of it. It's a different state of being and we're afraid of it. So it's really about encouraging us to become aware that what I was getting, the visuals I was getting was like our energy becoming increasingly fluid. And they were showing us becoming semi-form, semi-formless, and how that will be scary to us. That it's like being, it's just anything, like being in a new state. It's like as if you've ever, like the first time you were ever drunk and you're like, whoa, what's happening to me? It's like.
That never happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I never did. But you know what I mean? Like it gives you a really different, So it's, I think that is part of it, is understanding our own reaction to the change, even for those of us who like, so amazing. One time I did in my peace bathing program, which is a monthly healing that I do in a group healing that I do. One of the healings we did some time ago, years ago, they brought everybody up and then they kind of prepared us. And then they kind of stripped away all of our, and this is energetically, stripped away all of our, everything that kept us hidden. And like basically made us so that we were completely like, this is who I am in my truth, with all of my uglies and all of my deep, fears and all this stuff. Here's who I am. And then they brought us together. And it was the experience of what is unity really going to be? Like unity, like, and we are such as a world, we think a lot about privacy. We value privacy. In unity, you don't get privacy. Like you think about that, like unity means that you see all my junk and I see all your junk and we love each other anyways. And we get to this place, and the only way we can get there is if we come to self-acceptance to such a degree that we don't care. Like I have this junk and I love myself anyways. And so I'm not afraid to have you see it. And so unity, in order for us to get there, we have some work to do. that we have to get to the place where we genuinely, like, people think of unity as like kumbaya, love for everyone. Yes, it is. And it means you are completely exposed to the depth of you. And that freaks people out. And so that's kind of what they were showing me in this thing, was like, hey, it's all available. This is available to us now increasingly, not to the degree that it will be, but increasingly. But we have a tendency to pull away from it because we are afraid of a different state of being.
If we look at like most explorers throughout history, like discovering new lands and things like that, you see a person that they had to go first to see the new world and then come back to tell everyone else about it. So do you feel like this shift of consciousness is in a way going to unfold similarly, where we're going to have certain explorers that go and witness and experience the other side and then kind of come back to tell others about it?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've had dreams about it showing me that there are and many of the people are going to be people that are tuning into your podcast as the light workers who've been here, that we will be the ones to show the way, that it is that idea that somebody's got to go first. And then our job is to turn around. And I actually had a dream showing me that I was in the dream. I had two dreams about it. One dream, I was problem solving and I was looking at three solutions and all of them had downsides. It would be like, you could do it this way, but it has this limitation, or this way and it has this limitation. I was kind of choosing between these three problems that had problems inside of them, right? So, or solutions that had problems inside of them. And then all of a sudden I turned and looked this direction and it was the new reality. And I flew almost like a gas. I went into the new reality and all of a sudden there was no compromises. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's a perfect solution. Like, I don't have to choose compromise. I don't have to choose limitation anymore. And that was the first dream. And it was like super. And then what was amazing about it is that it was right there. Like, it wasn't like it was, here I am. It was right there. Like, I didn't have to go far away. It was literally, all I had to do was look and I was in it. That's how close it was. So that was like a big aha. And then the next dream I had is I was on the other side and I was turning around and reaching back and I was helping pull a friend of mine over. And so it was very, very clear. Yeah. So we're definitely going to be helping others. And there's absolutely no judgment. Like, there was no award ceremony for the person that goes first. There's no special star.
No trophy.
Right?
There's no participation
trophy.
award.
Right. Exactly. There's no reward. It is literally other than that you then get to help others. That's the reward. So, and everybody's going to take it at their own pace, at their own time, but there will be some souls that choose to wait because they know that they can squeeze a little more learning and a little bit more growth out of the karmic construct. So they're going to choose to wait to the last minute, or they may choose to stay in that karmic construct and then not even move into the new earth and then go at, those who choose not to, they just won't reincarnate here when they pass on. But there's no judgment at all for those people who choose to stay. It is a great way to learn about yourself. It really is incredible. Like they always say, if you meet another soul on the other side who's been to earth, they're like brighter and shinier than any other soul, because it is such a school of hard knocks that it really, really polishes us.
So what do you feel will be happening with this karmic construct? With
the old one, or the one that we're in right now? This one?
Yeah.
So our 3D reality is a karmic construct. When we go through the actual moment of the shift, which we will get close as we're going through all of these events that we're going through, but there will be one moment that the angel said there would be one moment we look back on and say that everything changed. It will be the moment, and that is when the flash of light comes. So when that comes, not everybody will shift. Many people will shift in that moment, and it will be a process. And in that process, so this karmic construct, think of this karmic construct that we're in right now, is like each of us was given a book about ourselves, about our soul and everything we could be, in every way we might be, and every reaction we might have. Like who would you be if you were reincarnated as a small, Middle Eastern boy that was born with one mother and no father in a, like anything. Pick up your scenario. How would it affect you? What would you do? How would you become? That is one chapter in the book. And so we all have this book. And within our lifetimes, it is really about how many chapters are we willing to read. And we only read a chapter when we grow, like when we are willing to see ourselves in the life. So when the flash of light comes, then we get to set the book down, that we are done with that book. We no longer are carrying the karma with us. And that is amazing, right? Incredible. The only downside to it is that we no longer get to read the rest of the book. That we, as much as we heal between now and the time that we individually shift, and there will be an individual choice when we shift, that is much as we get out of that book. And then we go into the new earth, and the new earth, the game is totally different. It is no longer this karmic experience where we're trying to read the book. In the new reality, we start learning about ourselves as manifestors. Totally different scenario. It's not even the same game anymore. So we have been playing Earth, living Earth, for the purpose of exploring our soul through karma, through self-judgment and forgiveness. That has been the process. The new thing will be understanding. So, and it's beautiful the way the angels have described it to me, is that we will be, because we will have this super heightened empathy, that we will relate to everything, everyone, the earth, everything through this empathy. It's like, we think of it as a sixth sense, but you know how you have some of your senses are way more powerful than other senses. So for example, vision is a really powerful sense. And you have the sense of touch, but you don't use it nearly as much as your sense of sight, because sight is so much more useful. Like I can see what's on the other side of the room, but I have to walk all the way over there to touch it to get any information. You just don't get that much from touch, not much data from touch. So that difference between the data you get from touch and the data you get from sight. Well, imagine the data you get from sight and the data you get from your sixth sense. Right? It becomes so much more powerful. We still have all the other senses. They just don't bring you nearly as much data as the new sense that's coming in. So it becomes way more powerful. It becomes our leading sense, the thing that it's our go-to, right, in the future. So we lead with that. And we still have all the others. They're just not as important because they don't carry as much information. The new one is so much more rich. So as creators, we go into this new space where we're navigating from this space of feeling your feelings. We go into, and we experience the world through, first, we feel into the earth and say, what does the earth need? Because we become the guardians of the earth. We feel into one another and we say, what does my community need? So what is needed by the community? What is needed by the earth? And how can I fulfill that need? What is special or unique about me, which can come forward right now that can solve that need? And then the challenge, the growth place, is how do I create it? And so that's the new thing. That's what we're doing in the new earth.
It's the systems of the new earth that are emerging, and there are going to be people that have to go first and test out what new systems can inhabit in this new state of being. And, in this current reality, in the karmic construct, we still do create. And a lot of us sometimes even create from fear. Yeah. We create from lack. We create from all these other ends of the other spectrum of emotions. In the new earth, do you feel like we'll be able to create from a different place, and what would that be?
Yes. So we are no longer creating from so right now because we are creators, it's just, we literally cannot, we don't exist without creating and that is the thing that makes us a reflection of the divine. Like the angels are the light of the divine. They are the divine. They carry the presence of the divine. Like they are the witness. We are the spark of the divine, that we have the ability to create a reality based on ourselves. That is the specific aspect of the divine that we carry. We can create a reality that reflects us. So that makes us like, I use God, please use your term. But yeah. So, and sorry, in that little, I know, what was your original question? I got caught up in my answer.
Like changing the frequency from which we create from. If we're going to be a new type of manifester,
yes,
how will that change how we create in the world?
Yeah. So right now, as we are creating, most of us we create all the time, but we create subconsciously. Like our reality is a reflection of us, and we're creating all of our wounds all the time. So, and we are rarely living in the now moment. We are mostly creating from the past. We're mostly living in the future, living in the past, creating from who we were when we were 2, from who we were when we were 10 and we got bullied in school, or that's what we're creating in reality. So we're, and it's all happening at a very subconscious level. when we move into the new reality, it's like going from the karmic path to the dharmic path. And the way that they've shown it to me is like, imagine that you're riding on the edge of a giant wave of creative energy, and reality is coming up to meet you in every single moment. And in every moment, you're responding to it in absolute presence, like way more presence than you can possibly fathom at the moment. Like right now, we skate through life going on a lot of times based on habit. Like there'll be times that you drive home and you get there and you realize you weren't even paying attention for the last 10 minutes. In the new reality, it's not like that. We are present. And so reality comes up to meet us, and we are working with reality in the moment and growing in every single moment. So say, for example, if something happens in the new reality that is, say somebody says something to you and it comes out in a way that's slightly offensive, it doesn't trigger you. You were able to say in the moment, oh, those words came out sounding like this. Is that what you intended? And they hopefully say no. And if they did intend it, you can say, well, I guess we're not friends. You move on. But if they didn't, then normally they're going to say, no, I didn't intend it that way. And it's not an issue. There's no chips on our shoulder. Everything is handled in the moment as if it's just rising up to be seen and talked about and discussed and worked with, like we're just crafting reality out of clay right in front of us, and there's no strings attached. That's the difference, right? There's no unseen complications. It sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where we're going. And
yeah.
I'm curious to know, what do you feel it is about the flash of light that would allow these new sensitivities and new senses to come online? What is it about the maybe even like physical or metaphysical nature of the light and the flash of it that will allow this sort of new way of being to emerge?
So this is the first lifetime that we have been born with two aspects of our soul inside of one body. So we have inside of us a higher octave of our soul song. And it exists inside of us, and it is just starting to wake up because of how much light has been hitting the planet. So it's still you. Mine is still me. It's just me on my very best day. So if you think of you singing a song, like here's your current soul song, and you are singing it at this octave, and this is your lowest day. This is the day that you're in your worst mood. And this is you at your very best day, when you're at like your best mood. Then this higher octave self is going to be, their lowest mood is going to be here, and their highest mood is going to be here. And that higher octave self. So when this higher self comes forward and begins to take precedence inside of you, it'll still be you, still all the same memories, still everything will be the same personality, except it's like you've taken you and you've come into this higher, and what it gives you is a higher spirit. You'll be able to see things from a higher spiritual perspective. So you know how when you're in a bad mood and something affects you in your outer world, and maybe you take it the wrong way because you're really deep in your stuff that day, and you don't hear it in its truth. You hear it through a lens of wounding. Whereas on a really good day, something bad could happen and you just roll with it because it doesn't stick to you. You're just like, yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. There's nothing for it to stick to. And that's what it's like when we're in this higher octave of expression, that we aren't carrying the same the baggage is like Velcro, and stuff sticks to it. And as we go through this process, and there's a moment that we go through this, the angels have described it. It's really powerful that they've said that. So when this flash of light comes, which they said will be an unmistakable moment, that it will be a light that we say, we will look back on that moment and say, that is the moment that everything changed. Like everyone will agree. It will be really clear, and it will be like crazy. Like they've called it rainbow starlight in the sky. Like they've shown it to me like little arcs and fizzles on the ends all around us. Like it will be like the air is like particles are charged around us. We will see weirdness in the air and like aurora borealis and crazy stuff. Like it will be obvious when this light hits the planet. And they said it's like it will affect everyone, and everyone can receive it. The only way we don't receive it is if we resist it by trying to cling on to what used to be. But if we say, well, wait, I want the light, but I also want to, finish my master's program, or I also want to, whatever it is, I don't want to let go of this or that. Those are places of resistance. We have to be in a place of just allowing and receiving and accepting. And when we do that, all the light comes in and we have this experience. They said, when we are in that space of love, they said, tune out the outside world, close the shades, just be in wherever space you're in, be quiet, and just be in love, focus on love. Then they said, in a moment, your body will get physically heavy. When that happens, they say, lay down, and the angels will do the rest. We got to lay down. And in that moment, the reason why we are getting heavy is we are starting to shift our vibration. We're shifting away from our karma. We're releasing our karma. The karma, it's like wearing a really heavy outfit. You have to take it off. But the angels are going to help us. There's physical angels they're not physical as we can see them. They're in light bodies, but they will be here to help us with this process. So literally just chill out and lay down. When you get heavy, they will slowly help you separate from your karma. And then there you go. And then they said, as we emerge from this kind of cocoon process that we're going to be going through, they said that in the beginning, we will feel like we're in a bit of a dream state. We will feel fuzzy headed. And they said, it's not because we're fuzzy headed. They said, it's because the reality is not fully created yet. And that we will be in the process of creating it as we come into presence in the new state of being. Mm. That's a lot, isn't it?
It's super, super interesting that you mentioned about the two aspects of the soul.
Yeah.
And I'm almost wondering, because, you said that this secondary aspect of us will not be fully birthed until the flash of light comes. However, I wanted to ask you, are there ways that we can begin to relate to that secondary aspect in the meantime and start that relationship today?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's like the egg, if it's in an egg, the egg is cracking, that's like it's starting to emerge. And I think that's what the angels have been talking about the glimmers and all of that. It is these, and it's coming up in moments. Like there are places where we are allowing, it's like little whispers of this are coming. And I don't know if you felt it. I've certainly been feeling more connected, more in flow. It's really that like, the shift that we're going through is one from karma to dharma. It's from being in a state where, like a state of judgment, into a state where we're like in the dream state. What represents the dharmic system is being on a roller coaster where there's no brakes on, where you're just kind of like, and there's no tracks really. There's no tracks. It's that idea of not needing structure anymore because we have come to accept ourselves. Right? And it comes through internal unity to external unity. We accept ourselves, and so we accept one another. It's this unification of self that brings us there. And so that's part of, we release the karma. Releasing our karma means releasing all the ways that we've judged ourselves, which means internal unification of all aspects of who we are. When we achieve that through this flash of light, which is going to be the energy, and that what you say, what is it about that flash of light? All light is presence. It's all divinity. It's all energy. It's all source energy. And so we get this massive infusion of source energy. And one thing I have learned as a healer, I've seen this in my healing processes with the angels, when they want to take us through a major healing process, they will try to free up energy first. So for example, in this one healing program that I have, they try to increase our connection. So first thing they do is they try to free up energy for that connection. They do it by going back into our past and freeing us from old expectations that were never fulfilled. So they go through and they free up all those places we've been sending energy, free them up. We get all that energy back and they use it to increase our connection. So we have to if we want to grow, it takes energy. Just like plants need energy, they need sunlight to grow. So the flash of light is the energy that we need to birth this higher aspect of self from inside of us.
It's like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, where our attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
And he shows this diagram where if our attention is always on the outside world, this conflict in a relationship, all these people we have to tend to, we're siphoning out all our energy. Mm-hmm. And that is the energy that we could be using to create and manifest a new reality for ourselves. So it almost seems 100%. Like a very similar concept.
I will tell you that there have been times when, so in my own process of learning to channel and learning to use my channeling with others, that there was about every 2 years, the angels say, okay, that way that you've been earning your living, it's time to stop doing that. And you're going to do something else. And we won't tell you what it is yet. Like you have to stop and then go into the period of nothing. And then it will be something new. But
the void.
The void. I have to go into the void and let something
Yeah.
renew, something new come. But one time I didn't listen because I was running this program and I was working very closely with a small group of people. And I had been working with them for like 2 years. And they said, okay, time, you need to stop that. We're going to do something new. But I felt bad about just cutting it off. So I kind of like, oh, well, I'm just going to reduce it down and do less and do less. And then the new thing came in and I was trying to do both at the same time. And it took so much energy that I literally couldn't stay awake during the day. I would literally be sleeping between sessions. Like it was insane. It was way more. I mean, I should have listened, it was a good lesson to me. Like I didn't do what they said. They just suggested to stop and I just couldn't, anyways, a lesson learned. But what I ended up doing is freeing up energy in order to cope with this overlap period. I did it by I basically rested my digestive system. I did intermittent fasting, which is like a fancy way of saying I skipped breakfast. But that extra rest of the digestion freed up enough energy so that I could stay awake all day. So it's just really amazing to notice that you can do this in just really practical ways. What are the physical things in your world that are taking energy from you? And it can be things that you're eating. What are you drinking? What are you eating? What is a physical tax? Is there any kind of poisons that you're putting in your body? That is a physical tax on your energy that's going to make it harder for you to shift to a higher state of consciousness. Same thing with toxic relationships, anything. It could be old hopes and dreams that you're trying to keep alive that maybe don't fit you anymore. Even junk in your house, having energy that's not flowing. If you have a lot of clutter in your home, that's stuck energy. It's not flowing. You can free up it. Just do one giant load, to the Goodwill and free up the energy in your home. But all of these things it's a wonderful way because it's so tangible and practical, but it can make a huge difference in freeing up your energy, which can then be used for your healing.
How do you identify what are those things in our life that are actually supporting and giving us energy instead of taking it away from us?
Oh gosh. It's really interesting. I have chosen to, I was always a city girl, pretty much suburban girl. And then I chose to move out into the no man's land, into the country so that I could grow my own food. And I grow my own vegetables. I'm vegetarian. So I control I bring in more light into my body through my diet. My diet has always been a tool for me to use to impact my state of being and my consciousness. So I recognize plants. Like if you're going to look for something that is going to bring more light to you, think about what do plants do? They photosynthesize the light, right? They, especially like leafy greens, things like that, they are bringing in the light. And so I will deliberately eat a lot. I eat tons of vegetables. Right now, I pretty much everything, all my meals come out of my garden. And I use a lot of root vegetables for grounding because they're in the ground. They're fabulous for grounding. But so for me, that's something, but even if you don't have the ability to grow food, you can just try to get as much life force as possible in what you eat. That's the idea, is look at your food and say, how much life force is in this? And so you can do that, like a simple thing that anybody could do. Even if you're living in like an apartment with like no window in the kitchen, you can grow sprouts on your kitchen counter, and they are incredibly nutritious and they're full of light. And so, so simple things like that are incredibly helpful but also like I'm constantly working on myself. I'm constantly looking at what do I need to heal and working through. I do a lot of self-healing. And every time I do, I recognize how am I in my own way? And the more of that I can come to terms with and I can move through, the brighter, clearer channel I am. It has a huge impact on my channeling, but it's also, my life gets so much better. So same thing with the clutter in my home. I really try to be sacred about what I let into my home and trying to keep it as clear as I can. It's difficult because I'm doing a lot of events, so I have all this event clutter at the moment. But I really try to keep my place uncluttered. And so just everything, relationship, same thing. If a relationship is no longer serving you, to trying to be as compassionate, but also open and honest about that as possible. Because it's really about, where is your energy going?
How has your perspective about healing changed over the years?
Oh, I think it's really been interesting. When I first started as a healer, I made a really big mistake in one of my first client sessions, is that I met this woman and she had this really amazing manifestation of whatever was going on with her, is that when she would talk to you, as she would listen, her head would slowly turn like this. And then when she talked, her head would come back. And then she would be quiet, would slowly turn. And I was mesmerized, right? I was like, that has got to be past life or something. I was like, what does that mean? And I got super curious. And she booked, at the time I was doing individual sessions. I don't anymore, but she booked a package of 3 sessions with me. And I was like, we got to figure out what this is. And I got really invested in trying to solve this problem. And so I did the sessions, and in the sessions, I could not figure out what was causing that issue. And all these things were presenting, and I was healing this and doing that. And I was talking to her ancestors, and I was doing everything I could. And lots of stuff came forward. The stuff that she was ready to heal came forward, but we never got to the root of this one issue because it wasn't the right time for her. But I recognized, as it came to the end of the 3rd session, I saw myself and realized that I had made this about me, that I had gotten in the way, that I had gotten attached to the outcome. And in that moment, it was just like, it just hit me like a wall of bricks. And so I gave her all of her money back, and I said, I'm never making that mistake again. And it was the realization that as a healer, that the journey as a healer is about sharing the light. And that's it. That is end of story. When I come together with another person as a healer, my joy is in sharing the light. And then how that person receives the light is totally up to them, right? When they heal, they heal themselves based on how much light they're ready to receive. What are they ready to do? And I have to respect and honor their journey. I am not here, and none of us are here to save anyone, right? And we're not even here to heal anyone. We're here to share the light. And so that for me has been a big part of the journey, is to let go of any desire to save, to heal, to be anything other than the witness, to witness another person and witness and honor another person's journey, and to share the light.
Powerful insight for those of us that are doing healing work, which are many of us listening to this show. And we end every episode with this segment of the final trio, which are last questions that we ask at the end. Before that, I would love to just make space for you to tell us where we can find you outside of this show, and where we can connect with you, work with you, and be part of all the angelic messages that you're bringing through for humanity.
Thank you so much. Yeah, everything is under my name, which makes it easy to find me. I'm on YouTube under my name, which is Ann with an E, Ann Tucker. And then my website is also anntucker.com. And I do have a big retreat coming up in October, which is my annual, called the Expand Your Heart Retreat. It's super fun. I call it Eat, Pray, Love, Eat, Pray, Love, Eat, Pray, Love, because that's what we do. And we do amazing healings with the Mother of Creation and the angels all day long. And it's here in Seattle, Washington, which is where I live, in October. I think the weekend is the 23rd. So I would love to invite people to come and join me at the retreat.
And we'll definitely include all the links in the show notes, in the description, so you can go find Ann directly. And for the final trio, these questions are personalized to you. So it goes along with a lot of the themes that we've been touching on throughout this conversation. But the first one is really around courage, as we're in this time of Leo season, as we're recording this. What is the bravest action that someone can take today to align themselves fully with the highest timeline of their life?
Oh, I love that question. Amelia, you are so good. I would say to trust. To trust is absolutely, and it is the most necessary. Like, if I had to say, like, what is the one thing that I would bring forward to say, please consider this, it is having the courage to trust, and think about what that means in terms of our journey to unity, that we cannot get to unity unless we trust one another. And that means opening your heart, being willing to let yourself be seen, being willing to express yourself, and having the courage to do that. It's so hard because so many of us have been wounded in the process. And so it's really being willing to perceive the possibility that it may be safe, And that safety comes from inside, from the sense that things can only hurt you if you believe them. And so it's getting to that space of self-love where, and that self-acceptance, so that it doesn't matter if the rest of the world isn't healed yet. It can't hurt you unless you're carrying that wound inside. But and from that space of self-love, we get to, in self-acceptance, we get to the space of trusting one another, and trusting that the world is that there's space in the world for each of us.
I'm laughing because I did pull up a quote from the angels. I didn't know you were going to say that, but they, in one message that came through, they said, "It is through the willingness to be seen that unity has begun."
Yes.
So if we want to have a world of unity, then inevitably we have to allow ourselves to be seen by others and by ourselves as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad you chose that one, because it is I think it's so core to what we're doing in the shift of consciousness, right? It is really about coming out from behind, the facade, and there's so much importance right now on the throat chakra. Like it's where, it's heart, it's head, but it's the self-expression. Like, this is how we're going to create the new reality, is that we have to get to the space where we're willing to let ourselves be seen through the expression of who we are. And we have to get over that fear of being seen. And it is I was hugely afraid of being seen, especially, like, I was so shy as a kid. Like, I used to, when cars went by, when I played in the front yard, I used to hide in the bushes. Like, I was super shy. Mm. And here I am on YouTube now. Channeling angels.
Angel channeler.
So I have come a long way in my shyness.
Way for sure.
Yeah. So, but it is a thing. It's that learning to, and being willing to trust. Yeah.
Mm. And of course it's easy for us to say, be seen, because we are in a way public figures and we do a lot of stuff publicly. What would you say to someone that maybe hasn't felt that call to go out and be on YouTube, or, do in-person events or whatever it is? How can they still cultivate that habit of being seen on a daily basis?
Oh my gosh. I think that I think it plays out in every aspect of our lives. So, like, one of my wounds was the fear that, like, I was always told that I was like such a little diplomat as a child, that I was always making sure everybody got along, and like that was, but it was part of my wounding. My wounding was that I had to make sure everybody was okay, otherwise they would leave. Right? That was my fear as a child. And so what that meant was I couldn't have any needs. Right? I couldn't ever be unhappy. I couldn't ever be too demanding or want too much, or people would leave. And so what I gradually came to understand as I went through relationships where I was managing everybody and managing the problems and never speaking my truth and letting my resentments or my anger, if I was upset about something, I was, well, I can handle it, and I finally realized that when I am not speaking my truth, I am in fact being dishonest. And when I turned it around and saw it that way, I realized that when I am being dishonest by not speaking my truth, I'm sabotaging the relationship. And so I think this is something that we can all accept and see as a reflection in our, I think that some people it's really easy for them. Like, everybody has a different response to life. Some people have a really easy time expressing their truth, but I know there's a lot of people that feel the same way I did. And I think it's just an example of, like, this is one of the key ways for me that what it has meant to speak my truth. It has meant to do the hard thing, to speak up when something's bothering me, being willing to make waves, being willing to be the squeaky wheel when I have to be the squeaky wheel, because if I don't, I'm being dishonest. And recognizing that sometimes I'm going to hurt people's feelings when I do that. Sometimes I'm going to make waves. I'm going to create disharmony when I do that. I don't do it on purpose. I try to do it compassionately. You know what I mean? But I have to recognize that if I don't do that, it's much worse, because I'm not being honest in the relationship. I'm sabotaging the relationship. Mm. And I'm not respecting myself. I'm not honoring myself, which is really one of the biggest things, that we have to honor ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just going to say, even for me, when I speak my truth, even though it's uncomfortable in the conversation, my voice still shakes, and I have to, like, notice and catch myself. If my voice is shaking, that means I'm saying the right thing.
I love that. Yeah.
And just keep going. Like, even if it's shaky, keep going. And eventually you'll get, with practice, it'll just be so super easy just to say those things and speak up for ourselves. And the second question I had for you for the final trio is, if humanity's future were to pivot on a single inner shift within each of us, what would that shift be?
I would say, can I answer it with two ways? Can I get two
all the
answers
ways
for one?
All the ways.
I would say that for humanity in general, like, there is a moment that the light switch gets turned on. And it is the moment when people realize that they are the creator of their reality. Like, the moment that they go from being the victim to being the creator, when they start to realize that the world isn't happening to them, it's happening for them, and that they have the ability to change their reality by changing what's inside of them, that it becomes self-reflective. That moment where that is, to me, is the difference between asleep and being awake. And so to me, that's critical. And I say that even though the people who are with you in this, watching this podcast, or part of this audience, are going to be on the awakened side, the majority of people on the earth are probably still asleep. And so I think that is an important distinction to make, that the first big thing for humanity as a whole is the flipping of the switch, to go from that state of being asleep, where we are the victim and the reality is something outside of us, to that understanding that our reality is a reflection of our internal state. So this second piece, I would say, in terms of like, what is the greatest shift we have to make? I think it is coming to that state of and self-love is such an overused term. Like, every cosmetics company wants you to believe that self-love is buying another tube of lipstick, you know what I mean? Like, self-love. But what it really means, by my definition, the way I understand self-love, is it is accepting and integrating. It's like looking back at, what are the pieces of your life that you wish never happened? What are the things you wish you never said, or you wish were never said to you? What are the experiences you wish you never had, that you wish you could erase? It is going back to all of those experiences, going back to who you were in those moments, and embracing that part of you and loving yourself through it back into wholeness. It's going back to that 2-year-old you, and being the parent you wish you had, and being in presence with your grief in that moment, or your sadness in that moment, and bringing it back into your heart. And that, piece by piece, we go back and we collect all those shards, broken pieces of ourselves, and bring them back in. And that, to me, is self-love. It is that understanding that I love myself because and through everything I've been through. And that, to me, is once we've been awakened, once the light is turned on, that is the next big work that we do, is we go back and we restore ourselves to wholeness.
Beautiful. And this actually really ties into the next question, because it's, when doubt or fear arises, what is the one sentence that you would invite us to repeat to ourselves when it comes up?
I would say, and this is, there's two, again, can I get 2 for 1? 2 answers?
3 for 1. 3 for 1. The Trinity. Make it the Trinity.
The Trinity. Thank you.
Not the duality. Not the 2.
I would say, when we have fear, the thing I would say, what the angels say often, is that, like, if there's stuff going, because we're heading into some we've been in dicey times. We're the frog in the boiling pot in the poly crisis, where it seems like every minute something crazy is happening, and that may increase. And if that happens, the angels have also said that not everything happens everywhere. The world is a very large place, and what happens in your neighborhood is not going to be everything, right? There may be something that affects you, but it's not going to be everything that affects you. So they say, when you start to feel fear, get your awareness and bring it back inside of your 4 walls. Recognize where you're sitting right now. Recognize that where you are sitting in this moment, yes, there are wars going on in the world. There's starvation going on in the world. There's crazy flooding. There's volcanoes. None of it's happening in your living room, right? That come back to where you're seated. Bring your awareness and your presence back to where you are, and recognize that you're all right, and keep it there. Right? Keep in that space of, like, okay, yes, the world is a very, very large place, and everybody is going to invite a different level of experience, a different type of experience into their world. And if this is not something, if you're not inviting that earthquake into your world, right? Or if it does come into your world, it's going to be because you have a role to play. There's going to be something in it for you. So it is that bring your awareness back. Stop pushing it out into where fear lies, which is in the unknown. That anxiety is created when we get into the state of knowing, like feeling like there's something coming, and we want to, feeling like we have to do something and we don't know what that something is. It is like, oh my gosh, there's going to be a crisis. There's going to be a problem. I should do something. I don't know what. That is a recipe for anxiety. So that is the idea, is stop thinking about that. Instead, bring your awareness back. What do you have to do? Do laundry, right? Focus on your life and stop focusing on what's going on out in the world, because it's just drawing you into fear. So that is the first thing I would say. And the second piece about doubt is, I would say, is to recognize that you are where you've gotten today. You've gotten here through all kinds of experiences. And where you are today, you are still well, right? You're housed, you're clothed, you have many good things going on in your life. Why wouldn't that continue? Why wouldn't that, if you've always been all right, why wouldn't you continue being all right? And certainly we could say there's a lot of people who've signed up for very, very difficult paths in their lives. And I call those people very ambitious souls, that they came in knowing that this was the life. This is the life where it's go for broke. If you want to heal, this is the life to do it in. But also recognize, if someone is listening to this, it means they're still alive. It means that they are still in a place where they have access to the internet. They have something to watch this on. Like, they are not destitute, right? They are in a place where they have some measure of safety around them. And so I would say, so when you have doubt, focus on that. Focus on, why wouldn't you continue? Like everybody's got angels, and the angels are capable of miracles. And they gave me the most incredible experience one time, where they told me that they are increasingly going to be able to perform miracles. And I was having a hard time like holding that in my body. And so that evening I went out to dinner, and they gave me the experience of a miracle, just so that I would be able to turn around the next day and tell people miracles can happen, because I felt one. And
what was it?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I walked by this, at the restaurant I went to, it was right next to this very posh Italian boutique, and I never go in because it's very expensive. And I just got the inclination. I wanted to go in and just, like feel the fabrics. And so I went in, and these nice ladies were there, and they started talking to me, and they showed me like the one thing that was going to keep me there. They were like, there's a 40% off rack in the back, and we'll pull it out for you. And so I'll look at the 40% off rack. They pull it out, and I'm trying things on. And one of them says, well, what do you do? And I say, well, I channel angels. And the woman gets very quiet, and she says, I saw an angel once. And she starts telling me this story, and she's never told this story to anybody. The woman she's been working with for 15 years had never heard this story. And she tells a story about how when she was in her 20s and she was moving here, she had her infant baby with her. She flew in to the first airport. She was supposed to catch a connecting flight, but she got caught up in customs. They held her for like 2 hours, and she missed her flight. And there was the airport, as she came out, the airport was shutting down around her. There was no connections out. She was stuck in the airport, and she had $10 in her wallet. So she had no money, and she couldn't go anywhere. So and literally like the restaurants are like closing their shutters, like the whole airport is shutting down around her. And so she doesn't know what to do. She sits down on the ground with her baby. She nurses her baby, and she's kind of crying. And this gate agent, after a while later, comes over to her. And, oh, what's going on with you? Are you okay? And she explains, well, I missed my flight and da-da-da. And the woman says, let me take care of you. Come with me. And the woman goes behind. She opens up one of the ticketing gates. She goes behind it. She comes back a few months later with a voucher for a shuttle to a hotel, a free voucher for a hotel stay, a voucher to get back to the airport in the morning, and she rebooks her flight for the next day. And the woman goes, she's so grateful. She gets down, she picks up all her stuff, she stands up, and she goes to say goodbye to the woman, but she doesn't see her anywhere. So she just goes, she catches the shuttle, has a really peaceful night, comes back the next morning to the airport, hands the gate agent her ticket, and the woman says, who booked this for you? And she says, the gate agent who was here last night. And she's like, no, there was nobody here last night. And she says, yeah, she had short gray hair and she was wearing the uniform. She says, there's nobody here that meets that description. And she knows that she was helped by an angel. She knows it. Mm. It was so amazing. And
they can incarnate into form and help us.
Form to help her in that moment. And they can do that. And what an amazing thing, of course, zero coincidence. You know how many people have ever told me an angel story in my life? I can think of, that was maybe the second time in my life that anyone has ever told me a story about seeing an angel. And it happened on the night that I was the next day supposed to share a message about angels are able to create miracles for us. So that was my miracle inside of a miracle. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
Yeah.
What a powerful story. And I'm sure so many of us tuning in have had something of that nature, whether it's someone that you helped or helped you on the street, like whatever it is, like angels are all around us. So just to say that, and there's so much wisdom that flows through you. I am so grateful for this connection, this collaboration. We go deeper every time we're together.
We do.
So
I love it. I love it.
I love it. I love it as well. And I can't wait to do it again. And sending you so much love for your retreats and everything else that you got going on.
Thank you so much, Millie. It was just awesome. You asked the best questions. So thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.